Okay, what's going on, guys? So I wanted to make a quick video to walk you through some good stretches that you can do once you're done biking, because biking is a great exercise. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. But for a lot of people, even me, it can make things worse, if we're being honest. If you think about all the sitting that you do, and I'll use this ball just as an example for now. You sit on this ball, think about that as like a chair in your office or wherever you're sitting on your desk. Your hips are always hiked up like this, right? And your hip flexors obviously flex the hip. And what does this look like? This looks a lot like the posture that you're in when you go for a bike ride, right? You're pedaling, boom, like that. And so it really aggravates that same posture that many of us are so used to. And so biking's fun, but if you don't stretch or take care of your body afterwards, you're gonna over time run into some problems. You're gonna be in more pain, probably back pain, and biking won't really be as fun, and it'll probably be painful too. So I'm gonna walk you through a few different strategies and stretches that you should take after you finish your bike rides. Okay, if you are familiar with yoga, this move is called half Sivasana, okay? And I'll flip this. From the side view, this is what it looks like. Obviously, yeah, the yoga term for this is half Sivasana, so you're just laying on your back with your knees bent, okay? I mean, I'm not really that yoga-y. I do yoga, but I don't really talk like a yogi. And so I just call it what it is. You're laying on your back with your knees bent. And a deeper stretch is just legs out all the way, palms facing up. Breathe. It really helps to decompress this low back and hips that were under so much tension from biking and from just sitting. And literally all you do is just lay here and breathe. One thing I will mention while you're in this position is make sure that you're breathing into your belly and not your chest. So what helps with this is to put one hand on the belly and one hand on the chest. You know where your breath is coming from. So if you notice that your bottom hand is lifting as you breathe, then you are doing it right. See here, my top hand is lifting. That means I'm doing it wrong. It should almost look like a wave. If you ever look at a baby breathing, they breathe like a wave. It comes first from the belly and then up to the chest. Okay, so that's number one. Number two looks like this. It's just the cat camel, okay? You've probably seen this. You get in a half plank position is what yoga teachers call this one. And basically, you breathe out, arch your back, breathe in, arch your back, breathe out, round your back, breathe in, arch your back. Take this slowly, move with the breath. It's gonna help to get your spine moving properly like it should, because it gets very locked in to place from all the sitting that we do. And that's really one of the greatest ills in our current society, is how much sitting is encouraged. It's funny because I took a public speaking course at one point and we had to give a persuasive speech. And my persuasive speech is why more people should be squatting in society. And a lot of people that I gave the presentations, you probably thought I was crazy, right? But if you think about it, like, this is a lot healthier of a position than this is. You're sitting like this all day. That's rough on the body, and you're not meant to be that way. A lot of Eastern practices, yoga for example, encourages this squatting movement, and in a lot of Asian countries, that's how they eat. They eat either sitting on the floor or squatting in front of the table and eating like that. And it's just a lot more natural for our bodies. Like, obviously a chair is man-made, and it kind of just feeds into this lack of good posture in the Western world. And so anytime you can find just space for squatting, obviously I didn't start here. I used to be really tight. I used to have really bad back pain, and that limited my ability to squat. It actually was caused by squatting a heavy weight improperly, and that led me on an interesting journey. But yeah, anytime you can find a place to just squat down and move around a little bit, even just get on the floor. If you're watching TV, just get on the floor to look up at it. Don't be sitting on a chair. Act like a monkey. Be a monkey, I guess, is my philosophy sometimes in life. So that's number 2. And then number 3, one of the best things is if you think about your abdominals, your core, everything emanates from here, okay? And so it's important to make sure that the core is tight and engaged when you're doing things. And so even though you just finished a tough bike ride and you're probably feeling pretty tired and your quads are probably killing you and your hips are sore and you're out of breath, after you do those 2 things that I just talked about, I would really recommend going to a good old-fashioned plank. Okay? And what this does is you do it properly. You're not just, you hear stories of people that have held these planks for like hours and hours. And if you think about it, that's not possible. To be able to do that, to do a proper plank for 3 or 4 hours, I think someone did it for 10 hours. It's not possible if you're doing it right. If you're doing a plank right, everything in your body should be tight. Okay? You should be squeezing your butt, squeezing your abs, making sure your shoulders are tight, and breathing through all that. And so this is what I call a breathing plank. Get everything in your body as tight as possible and breathe through it. You're squeezing your glutes, okay? You're squeezing your abs, thinking about bringing your elbows and your toes together, and breathe. Do that for about 10 breaths, and that's gonna make a world of difference for you. That's a great warm-up before you work out. It's a great way to finish, to kind of bring yourself into alignment. And if you think about it, every time you squeeze your glutes, you're counteracting that hip flexion that is caused by biking, by sitting so much. Because if hip flexion is this, hip extension is this. And that's the glutes that do that movement. So getting those glutes working is going to be huge too. This is the final stretch. And this ties in with what I was just talking about with the glutes. And so if you have a nice lacrosse ball or a baseball, even a tennis ball for some people, because they're so tight down there that it hurts. Every time I do it, it hurts too. But when we sit down, we're really crushing our glutes, our glute muscles. And when you do that, they get tight, obviously, but they also get weak. And so a mistake that a lot of people make anytime they feel tightness in their body is just keep stretching it. And what they don't realize is, yes, it's tight, but it's also weak. And so when you keep stretching something, it's just going to keep getting weaker and weaker, and then tighter and tighter. So it's important to really get into this area and do a soft tissue massage on it. And many times that's more effective than a stretch, honestly, because you're actually getting in there and getting blood flow to the area. Okay, so the piriformis muscle is always tight on people. Most people I've seen, even me, have a pretty tight piriformis, and that's, if you think about your hip bone, okay, it runs about, the bottom of it runs about right here, just a couple inches down from that, and it's kind of in this area here. So to hit that, you put the ball right there, and whatever side you're working, you cross that leg over, okay, and you just move around, find a tight spot, and hold it there. You might feel a little bit of nerve pain there because it's so close to the sciatic nerve, and it's what causes, a tight piriformis is what causes sciatica in a number of people. So don't be afraid of that nerve pain, because it's probably, the nerve is kind of trapped because of that tight muscle. So as long as it's not excruciating, try to get in there and just breathe through it, okay? Man, I could work on this for 5-10 minutes, honestly, but for the sake of time, I will end it there. One thing I will say before I end it is that it's important to take your time with this. The way I'm doing it right now is not how you should be doing it. You should be willing, if you're gonna start rolling on a ball like this, you should do it for at least 2 minutes, because if you do it for only like 10 or 20 seconds, what you're doing is you're just getting that muscle angry because you're just putting pressure on it, and it's like, what the hell, dude, why are you doing this to me? And if you just go off of it, it's going to be like, fuck man, that hurt, don't do that again, and it's just going to be angry. Whereas if you press on it for a while, it's going to be like, stop doing that. But then eventually it's going to be like, that feels better. Okay, so yeah, work away on that. If you find a tight spot, hold it there for a bit. You can even move your knee around a little bit to get different angles, but that's going to be a huge stretch for a lot of people, okay? And then last thing I'll mention, you can do the same stretch just with your foot out. So I'll do it on the other side just to show you. So we want to hit the glute max. It's the biggest glute muscle you got. And you do that by just keeping your foot out straight, okay? And right kind of above the femur, that it runs, obviously the femur is here, and it runs to about there. Just get on there. You'll feel it. Trust me, you'll feel it. Roll around, do the same thing. Okay, find a tight spot, breathe, okay? And push through the pain. The pain is temporary. If you're really tight, it might last a little bit longer than you would hope, but the only way to get through the only way to overcome the pain is to go through the pain, okay? So remember that when you work through this. So I hope that helped, guys. That was 4 different stretches and exercises that you can do once you finish your bike ride to reverse some of those effects of the tight hip flexors, weak and tight glutes, and low back pain that can happen from biking. So we can get back out there and do the thing that we all love to do, and keep going strong. So we'll catch you on the next video, guys. Thanks a lot for watching.